This is the Frankly Speaking podcast, live version right now, but we also are recording this, and we appreciate your attendance and participation. Today's topic is around cyber hygiene and how MSPs can use it to safeguard their clients. We're going to have a couple guests come on in just a moment, but really in this episode, we're going to sort of walk through how email security, multi-factor authentication, password automations, and some other tools, in particular continuous vulnerability management, to really help reduce client risk, and that's what we're trying to help everybody be safer. Some key takeaways today: critical role of proactive cyber hygiene and safeguarding client environments, how email security, MFA, and vulnerability management contribute to reducing that client risk, and the impact of integrating practices into everyday MSP services for trust and reliability. So we have some questions that were asked prior as part of the registration, but we also welcome you to enter questions into the tool and the questions or the chat function within the application. So ask away if we're not clear on something or just something came up fresh. Happy to take those live. So with that, let's get going. Let me introduce our two guests, Chris Marquez and Tish Williams. If you guys want to join on, thank you very much. Nice to see you both.
How's everyone doing today?
I'm doing well. Winter has hit here in Oregon. We've got rain and some cold, and I don't know if you've gotten any snow yet in Denver or Colorado.
A little bit in the mountains. We had our first freezing temperature night last night, so we had to go and make sure all the hoses were unplugged. And
yeah. Yeah, Tish doesn't know what that's about. She lives in Florida, so
yeah.
Would you get down to 70 overnight or something, Tish?
Well, 69 at night and then 85 during the day. So we're still very warm.
You're still gonna rub it in. Okay, fine.
Don't tell my wife that.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick round. I'll introduce myself. So Frank Raimondi, VP of Channel Alliances and Partnerships with Nodeware and IGI. Nodeware is a continuous vulnerability management program, and IGI is our cybersecurity services engine for pen tests, compliance readiness, etc. So Chris, you want to introduce yourself and your company?
Yeah, my name is Christopher Marquez. I'm the Director of Global Alliances or Sales and Alliances here at Iron Scales. We focus on advanced email security, API-based, AI-powered email security, security awareness training, DMARC management, and account takeover protection for partners and their customers.
That's all? That doesn't sound like much.
I know, yeah, right. It's a little bit. It's a little bit.
Yeah, good. All right, and Tish?
And I'm highly focused. So I'm Tish Williams with a token. We are, if you would call it, the gold standard of biometric authentication. It is a way for organizations to have a passwordless way of getting into your computer. And I know we're going to get into some more details here shortly, but I come from a long background in cybersecurity, and I think this is really on the forefront of prevention.
Yeah, well, that to your point there, Lee, that is a big focus today, on our topic. But really, given it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, awareness is really driven about knowledge and what is there and how to protect things that we can always. It's sort of funny, great Christopher, with the as awareness training as part of your tool, right? Those quarterly or annual trainings that are required for company compliance and all. Yeah, they always kind of seem boring and all of that, but it's boring. They're boring for a reason, because we need to keep being hit on this stuff, right? It's just way susceptible. So before we get into more of the topic, one little fun item that I'll ping you guys on. So part of our tradition within the Frankly Speaking is that I want you to call out a Frank that you've known, or that historical figure, or somebody that's just kind of fun to think about as a Frank. So anybody come to mind, Tish or Christopher?
Yeah, actually, one of my favorites is Benjamin Franklin. He was very famous, obviously. But I read a book about his life, and it was super interesting. And I think one of the things that I just thought was kind of very interesting is he had a whole scorecard that he would put out of all the things you should do every day, what you should eat, how much exercise, you need to be true to yourself, don't lie, don't cheat, but basically he did none of them. But he thought an ideal person would do all these things and they would just be a really great human being, but he basically did none of it.
Okay. Well, I say back in the 1700s, did they even know what exercise was? So.
Yeah, actually, it was interesting. He did. He was very thin when he was young, but he ate bread mostly because that's the only thing he could get, right? He was very poor, so he didn't have really nutritious food. So he believed, you should eat nutritiously and do these things and not be a womanizer, but he absolutely was all those things. So,
okay.
It's quite interesting that he had this rules and charts of everything you should do every day, but didn't follow it.
Well, do as I say, not as I do.
Isn't that the truth?
All right, Christopher, what are you thinking?
I'm a little bit more simple than Tish here. I think it's because I don't know if I've ever actually known a Frank. I've loved music, so Frank Sinatra would come up. Thinking about just a Frank that has had an influence on my life, but more simply, I tend to automatically think of that little dog from Men in Black. I think his name is Frank, the pug. That's all crazy from Men in Black. And I also think of Frank from the movie Old School. Will Ferrell as Frank the Tank. I don't know. That's just where my mind goes when I think of those things. So
okay. Besides myself, I usually think of one that always impressed me is like Frank Lloyd Wright, but the fun one is Frank Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh my God!
The stories and the situations are my family, both my direct family and indirect and beyond, and it's just like so many. Oh yeah, you just said that the other day. He's just that lovable, cranky old partner. Right? So
yeah, that was a fun show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get into this cyber hygiene. So, we as Nodeware in particular, and all three of us, I think, really are driving the proactive element, right? So, looking at cyber hygiene, right? It's a term, but it's kind of, it kind of isn't. I like using it just because it helps people sort of make the connection to safeguarding and being better prepared. But how do you guys define cyber hygiene? What do you see as a critical elements there?
I would say just you need to be proactive, right? So coming from a cybersecurity background, cybersecurity awareness training, it's a big mouthful every time I say it, but it is something that is critical for people to pay attention, right? If your job is in IT, but if your job is a nurse or a flower shop owner, a lawyer, as much as you want to do your job, you also have to pay attention to the cyber threats that are out there because they are, and they're going to come after you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the other thing is, like, when you think of hygiene, think about how you upkeep yourself or upkeep your house or your car, your vehicle. It's consistency, right? It's not just, hey, I'm going to clean myself once and then stay clean. It's like, no, I need to consistently be working out in order to get fit. I need to consistently be eating better in order to, be healthier. All of these different things is they're relevant when it comes to, hygiene in general, and cyber hygiene is no different. It's the consistency of evaluating your systems to make sure there aren't gaps and there aren't vulnerabilities. It's not doing it one time, it's doing it ongoing.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect point, Christopher. I think one of the things that I think most MSPs get that and understand it, but I think they might have a hard time sort of transferring that value and that importance to their customers, because oftentimes that's going to mean more money, right? And the customer is always balking at paying more. But I think we need to change it's kind of like insurance. You hate paying it, but you kind of have to have it, right? It's hygiene. If you don't, then again, take the extreme of the hygiene analogy, right? If you get sick, you could die, right? Your business could die from not keeping your business healthy, not keeping your tools healthy. And I love the consistency mentioned, right? That is really the critical part. And then again, that plays to our products in particular, right? You can't do a test once a month or once a quarter, right? Nodeware sort of does the continuous daily monitoring against all vulnerabilities and looks for every device on that network, because you never know what it is or what could be the attack surface. But if you're continuously looking for them and remediating them before, taking the antibiotic before it gets too sick, before you get beyond that.
Right, and you're exactly right. And when we're talking right now, we're talking about just one individual, and I think that's part of cyber hygiene as well. Is you can't have good cyber hygiene on just a few people in the organization, and that's a mistake that I've seen a lot of organizations make. It's like, oh, we only need to protect our C-levels, right? Like we only need to protect this echelon of the organization. Everyone else we can put on a lower security stack, or not monitor as much, or whatever it is. But just as well as I do, I mean, we all have kids here and stuff like that. It's like they're getting infected way more than me. And if I'm not taking care of my cyber hygiene, then they're 100% going to have an impact on me if theirs is compromised, correct?
Right, even like through gaming and things of that sort. And I think for me, one of the things that I've really experienced over the years is how many people think it's not about them. They think nobody wants my password. Nobody cares what I have. So it really doesn't matter if I make a mistake. And they don't understand that it really is every single person. And like you say, when you have children and sometimes, they borrow a computer or they borrow a phone, the phone's connected to the computer. There's all different ways it infiltrates where people are not even paying attention. And it just, it's like, kind of to your point, taking a shower every day, exercising, but it's also like having your house, right? Your house, you lock the doors. You might have a security system. You're going to close the windows. You're going to try and really take care of your house. Doesn't mean somebody still can't get in, but the more you do to prevent, the less likely you will have a problem and the better off you are.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we preach a lot in presentations and just in trainings is we call it a triangle of protection, right? So there's the proactive pillars and tools that we represent, right? Add backup disaster recovery. You are including awareness training, Chris, in your program. So there's that piece, one element of the triangle. The second element is the testing, right? And that's where maybe it's a penetration test, maybe it's adaptation with the compliance frameworks and doing the things that proving that you're doing these elements and putting your system to the test, right? It's a vaccine, right? You've taken the vaccine. Does the vaccine actually keep you from getting sick? And then the third element is still, you can do all the preventative stuff you could buy and implement. You could still, have all the proactive and hygiene that you can do, but you still can get sick. And to your point, Tish, right? The hackers and the exploiters, they don't care if you've got, a 10,000 in your banking account or 10 million. They're just trying to hit anything that has a surface. So they are going to get through, and that's where you need the recovery tools and the fixing tools, right? The MDRs, the EDRs, those kinds of programs, XDR, SIMs, all that stuff, because you need to fix what's been broken. Obviously, something went through, so now you need to go back and, again, we can take that to another analogy where you go to physical, they tell you what you need to do. That's the proactive part. You go to the stress test, you get on the treadmill, you test what's going there. And then if that all fails, then you have the ambulance and the hospitals and the doctors that are going to help you make fix. So thinking of those three triangles is
a really good way of looking at it for sure. And one of the things I think we were talking about earlier is, I saw recently there were 16 billion passwords and usernames that were exposed back in June, right? 16 billion worldwide. And it's through places like Facebook, Microsoft, Google, all of these highly secure organizations that have a lot of the best tools, and they still were exposed. So, if you don't think you've been exposed, I can't think of a person who hasn't, other than my mom, who now she's passed, but She used to not know how to get into her computer, and every time she logged on, she lost the internet. So she never really went anywhere. So I would say she probably was pretty safe. But other than her,
Yeah.
Well, that's a great
I
call
lost
too.
the internet again.
That many being compromised, it's a volume game for these malicious.
Absolutely.
Yes, they have the big hitters, but everything else, like in life, it's like it's a volume pull.
Yep.
Well, the other now, I like the analogy of the big board. Oh, Christopher, are you there? Okay, you finished. You cut out there for a second.
Play. If they can get 10,000, 100,000 times, that's a big number, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Sorry about that. I must have cut out. But like I was saying,
had
it's just a
family member. I'm sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
No, Christopher was chatting. You're
I
good.
think we're
Okay.
all.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I had a family member that was afraid to tell everybody that they fell for a scam, and they bought Bitcoin to pay, and pretty much lost all their savings. And they were just embarrassed, but they thought, no, it was so real. And I'm just like, with all the training, with knowing people in IT, right, security, everyone that's, every bit of news, everything else that's out there, you would think people would say stop and, hey, let me ask a question. But people get embarrassed and they fall for it, and it's it's really scary.
All right, so let's get a little specific, just of data. It's kind of along these points of there's, some are hidden, some are shy to talk about them. But Chris, on the world of email security, right, in proactive cyber hygiene, maybe tell us some recent stats, where the attacks come from, any changes that you're seeing on how attacks are driven through emails, and then ultimately, how does your product sort of help minimize that?
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me now? I think I was having some internet issues. I mean, email is the #1 attack vector in the world. It's going to remain to be until something takes it over, which is, probably not very likely in our time. And so these actors, they're just getting smarter, right? They have all the same technological advancements that we do on the security side of the house, but they're using it for evil, right? And so the traditional links and attachments and phishing 1.0 really that we're used to, we don't see too many of those attacks anymore. It's moved into the personal side of it, business email compromise. Like I just got I got an email from Tish asking me to wire her money or change our banking information, right? And it's those type of requests that are coming from people, or it's account takeover attacks where these actors are harvesting credentials and taking over accounts and actually sending out attacks as the trusted individual. And historically within email security, they're heavily managed off allow lists and whitelists, which means that if you have a customer, an IP, a domain on those lists, they can send any malicious email unscrutinized. And now we're even moving into phishing 3.0, where it's deep fakes. And we talked a little bit about this when we spoke last week, and how that actually plays an impact on MFA, which I'm sure that we'll get into here in a little bit. But deep fake attacks where they're taking over Teams meetings, pretending to be Frank or Tish, it's all of these different routes to compromising a user and an organization that are out there that we need to keep up with on a day-to-day basis, and why we need to keep evolving, and why cyber hygiene and consistency and making sure that you're protected as much as you can from the left of boom, but also having those right of boom solutions in place just in case is essential to your overall cyber hygiene.
Yeah. No. So what about deep fakes and just the mysterious and the ever-present AI and sort of the overhyped AI and all that. So is there customer expectations, I think, are pretty high, right? But there's also a huge fear of where they start. So maybe with your AI embedded in and doing a lot of sort of improvements for the partners, is there any kind of keywords that I'm kind of thinking of helping the MSP deliver the message that they are delivering AI, right? So if they deploy Iron Scales and the MSP can say, we're using AI that does this, and this. What's what are the different elements maybe that AI is specifically within email security that are being enabled today?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with the security layer, right? The ability to identify malicious intent through like suspicious language, for instance, right? Say that I did get an account takeover, an account takeover attack happened to Tish, and she did send me an email saying, hey, I need you to wire me this money. The AI would know, hey, this isn't normal behavior. This isn't a request that Tish would normally make. This is suspicious. So it's able to take they were able to identify that malicious intent rather than just malicious content, where historically that's how email security has worked, is they're comparing everything against a known threat database. And if it's unknown or a zero-day attack, which is the majority of what we see out there today, it's going to slip right through traditional defenses. And this is where our AI has the ability to identify contextual things that are wrong with an email, along with suspicious language or malicious intent. The other piece of it is around just management in general, right? I've worked with MSPs day in and day out for a decade now. And the one thing that I've learned is that time is the enemy of all managed service contracts. And historically, email security escalations are a nightmare. It's a user escalation, a manual investigation, search and destroy, rules, policies, all of that stuff. Our AI Themis, who is the Greek goddess of good counsel, by the way. So fun fact, I like Greek mythology, I'm a nerd like that. So if you hear me say Themis, I'm referring to the AI. She's actually taking on the majority of that work and eliminating the need for rules and policies, manual search and destroy, all of these different things. So partners can go out there and not only feel confident about being secure, but also have that time back to go focus on revenue generating business, which is essential to themselves and the community.
Yeah, no, the time savings, it's, we with Nodor, we got a customer that's evaluating it now. They use a different program that, it can be kind of cheap to, per customer, but ultimately they still have to do a lot of work, or the end user has to take the reports and go through them and sift and prioritize and all that. Where we already kind of have done that, right? Through some of our AI embedded and some of our basic core deliverables. We're helping prioritize and save that technician's time to do the work as opposed to researching what they need to do. So
yep. And the other thing too, just as far as ease of use, saying, hey, we're implementing AI. The good thing about Iron Scales is, when Tish was gonna show me up here in a minute, I know she is with her quick 3-second demo, but we can be deployed in a matter of minutes. And as you mentioned earlier, Frank, one of the key things is out there is it's showing how you're protecting, or showing what you can do to show that value to the end customer, justifying the extra spend, justifying why you're putting that solution in place. And one of the nice things with Iron Scales as well is that we can be set up in a matter of minutes because we tap in through the API, so 3 minutes to set up. And we provide an actual holistic report that shows you everything that we would have caught that the other solution missed. So we're really giving you the data that you need to go out there and win business. And a lot of that is powered by the AI, especially when it comes to this types of attacks that are malicious intent and suspicious language that do slip through other defenses.
Okay, no, that's perfect, and hopefully that was some good insight and tips for MSPs listening today. So Tish, your focus is on access, right? So what are you seeing happening? What should MSPs really be watching out for on behalf of their customers relative to access?
So really, most every single major attack that's ever happened is because of a compromised password, right? People don't always have the best passwords, right? So it's still common to see password or backwards password or ABC123, because people get kind of just, they do it ad nauseum, and I had an old password, which I have not used for 10 years. And it was only on one account, so it doesn't matter, but it was my favorite bike was blue, which was a really long, and it was great. On the same hand, even that could be compromised, right? So it doesn't matter. Then you have to make it.
Then it destroys all the rest of your potential uses of it.
Right. So then you have to kind of keep going. And when I speak with a lot of MSPs, kind of to your point, Chris, when we were talking, it really is something that they make the most money when everything is working well, right? So kind of looking at multi-factor authentication, a lot of the tools that they have, there's some great tools out there, Duo, Okta, LastPass, 1Password, all those kind of things. But again, if you're compromised, and let's say they compromise LastPass, which they have done in the past, right? If they get into any of those, now all your passwords are exposed. So what we're looking at Token is a completely passwordless device. And yes, Chris, you're right, this is really fast. It's a bio stick, and you basically click it once to turn it on. I'm going to click it again, and it says green, which means it's accepted. I'm literally logged into everything. And the point being is, it's humanness. I always think is kind of the big missing piece, right? So if you had the perfect IT manager, and you've got some great people here, Frank, and you both, Chris, too. But if you take, the most brilliant engineer out there, and they just made the most perfect network, and everything was locked, everything was tagged, everything was marked. They knew exactly what was there. They had complete control, and there's no humans involved. It would work perfect, right? So great. But there's the human side, right? People forget to close their computers. People use their phones to log in, which we've talked about too, is that when you mentioned earlier, Chris, like with the AI, it is now possible, and it's actually happening, where if you steal someone's phone and you look up online and you get enough pictures of them, you can actually hold your phone up and have that open up from the image that AI makes. So there's a lot of things to pay attention to. So what is really great about this device is it's biometric, which means it has to be me. I have to be within so many feet of my device, and I have to be able to physically touch it. So it's biometrically me. That is probably one of the most difficult ways to break into. And because it has no passwords, then even if you were to somehow get me to click on a link, there's nowhere for them to go. There's no passwords for them to break into, nothing they can lose. I would say that, knowing that you've got a lot of the right tools in place is great, but you also have to remember that the human side is always going to be the part that breaks. It just happens. And we had talked about it a couple weeks ago too, about, if you use your phone to log in, and you have to look up your Okta or your Microsoft, all of the different authentication tools, that again can be compromised. This connects directly to a computer. No more using your phone, which means it's your personal phone. Whatever you download on your phone is not going to be, connected to your work stuff as well.
Okay. All right. So a couple things, just sort of a little halfway in here, or half hour in. If people do have questions, please provide them in there. In the chat, I put my name, email, and phone number. If Christopher and Tish, if you could do that as well, if people want to reach out to us, we will do some follow-up as well. But just if there's something urgent, we'd love to get a response there. So go ahead and add those in, and do ask some questions from the audience. We'd love to hear from you. A couple of questions. I think the first one that came in was sort of what we were talking about a little bit, about how to either attract or to get customers to sign in. So, what leads or what key messages? So Christopher, maybe just sort of reiterate a little bit about, the consistency. I'm thinking that's kind of what we're coming back to, is that really is what the MSP needs to be able to communicate.
Yeah, it is consistency, and it's value, and it's dropping a wall. I think we've all gone through this where, we're cold calling, we're trying to reach out, we're trying to drum up top of funnel business, but we're struggling to get a response. And a lot of times it's because of the commitment, right? You want someone to do a demo, you want someone to go through hours potentially of evaluation before they can get to the actual outcome and the result that they either want or maybe that they don't, right? And so with IronScales, we have a partner program that includes NFRs for our partners. complement, or it's no quotas, no minimums, no long-term agreements. So those barriers to entry are also a key aspect when it comes to, you know, lead magnets and driving leads to your organization. The other thing is a free email health check. So the way that we do it with Iron Scales is the second that you tap us in or you sync us up with the environment, we run an email health check. We go back 90 days and we look for everything that the existing solution missed that's live, every single email that's live in that environment that they missed that we would have caught, and we would have remediated and kept clean and kept that organization safe. And so it goes through who the most targeted departments are, the most targeted employees. It breaks it down by category, whether this was phishing, credential theft, you name it. That way you actually have the visibility historically walking in to say, hey, here's what, you know, we can offer a free email health check. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up. Don't worry, you're not gonna have any downtime. You will not know we are there because we can be also spun up in what's called silent mode. And so what a lot of our partners are doing is they're creating an email, they're sending it out to existing or prospective customers, something along the lines of, hey, it's our responsibility as your trusted advisor to make sure you're as secure as possible. With that in mind, we're offering a free email health check to make sure that nothing is slipping through, to make sure that you're as protected as you can be. If you're interested, let us know. We can have this spun up in 5 minutes, no strings attached, and that's it, right? It takes 5 minutes or less to give you the scope into their email ecosystem that you need to really position a product like Iron Scales or whatever else it is.
Yeah, we do that with Nodor deployment, just on a 7-day trial that the MSP can roll out, and they kind of get an idea whether, you know, there's 50 devices or there's 100, or the customer says, oh, we've got, you know, 30 employees and 40 devices. Oh, sorry, you really got 80 when you add up everything.
Yeah,
you know,
it's wild.
80 are all accessible and exploitable. Like, we can't protect what we don't know about, so we're going to make sure we know whatever you know what is on that network. So
exactly, you wouldn't believe how many times we plug in and they're like, we have 100 mailboxes, and all of a sudden it'll come back 175 because they're aware that this customer has been hoarding ex-employee shared mailboxes without, you know, following best practices and deleting and moving into an archive after 90 days, which is, again, cyber hygiene and another open attack vector for these malicious actors to use. So yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. We see it all the time.
Yeah. Tish, any thoughts on that from your side?
No, I was going to say, I think you're right. Your critical piece is to do the testing. I've come with the background, we did a lot of vulnerability testing. It was typically done like on a quick test. It probably takes, like you say, all of 5 minutes, and it comes back and people are typically surprised. Another one is when you can email themselves to themselves, which means they've got an open, right, port. So you've got to say, well, you've got to realize you're just not as secure as you think you are, right? I mean,
when you can show them the data, it's a lot different, right? When you can show them that data, like Tish just mentioned, it's huge. It provides such a better impact than saying, hey, this is what we're advising, this is what you need to put in place. When you go to them and you're like, hey, this is why we need to put this in place, this is what we're seeing, it opens up their mind to understand what you do as a technical head, you know, and the impact that it can potentially have on their business when you actually go to them with data.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I think that really leads nicely into the next question that was asked beforehand: is what's the best method to protect home and work at home users? And this is also kind of related to another one about the cloud-based tools. But, you know, I think all three of our tools are ideally designed for both, for fully in office, for fully at home and remote workers, and the probably predominant hybrid world today, right? So, you know, if I've got an agent on my notebook and I'm working from home, I'm still being scanned on a daily basis. I'm still checking for vulnerabilities, right? The email is on, the email security and all the access there is managed whether you're in the office or not. And again, that's a cloud-based tool that accesses it and stores it centrally. And again, Tish, yours is the ultimate protection of that device and the access to the data, securing it to the person that is supposed to be that person, right? So whether they're at home on an airplane or, you know, in a remote country, validation and confirmation is critical. I think, we're part of the question about cloud and, still some on-prem holdouts. I think for all of these cyber hygiene elements, that doesn't matter, right? All of us are prepared to, we have a sensor that works on the network, so it captures everything from IoT cameras to printers and servers, and if they've got lots of old-fashioned hard, desktop
And
machines.
gaming devices are huge.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So all of that is, all of our solutions work well for them. So last question that was prepaid, pre-submitted. So this is kind of back to a general question I think that we reinforce with the cyber hygiene you mentioned. But how do you protect yourself from clients who absolutely don't want to invest in cybersecurity and avoid your warnings? My first answer is you walk away.
100%. 100%. It's just like
that customer that doesn't want to invest, doesn't want to, do anything that you're suggesting to them, that you now all of a sudden they're your risk that you don't want to deal with. So that's an easy question. I don't know if you. It's always hard to do, right? It's hard to say no, Mr. Customer. I don't want your business, but.
Well,
yeah, maybe harder up front, but easier down the road, right?
Like when they have like cyber insurance as an example, right? You as an MSP, you have to have cyber insurance for yourself, but your client needs to have it. And so if the client says, I'm not going to keep cyber insurance, and that way I'll blame you if anything goes wrong, you're like, whoa, whoa, Nelly, that's not going to work for me, right? Just like every home has to have its own insurance. And being in Florida, we had major floods last year, and this year, knock on wood, so far. But with that in mind, all the people that bought all these homes on the water, like, I'm just paying cash for it. Even if it's like a little tiny, cottage, didn't, buy insurance, and all of them lost everything.
Yeah.
So if you want to lose everything, then
the other thing is it's walk away. We know that's not always a situation that's going to work as well, but is CYA, right? What I advise is to have your customers sign a waiver of services. If they're going to move forward with they only want to move forward with this, but not email security or not token or MFA or whatever it is, then you make them sign a waiver of liability saying, hey, we're not liable if this type of attack, the reason you're compromised comes through here. And then also put into writing, if we do need to go and remediate and you do need us to go and clean this up, here's what the back end costs are going to be when it comes to the right of boom situation, rather than protecting here on the front end. A lot of times I've seen when partners do that, it's eye-opening, it makes the customer think, and a lot of times they come back saying, hey, they changed their tune, they're going to move forward with this.
I've heard that approach multiple times, and that is usually the result. They realize, oh, I can't just count on you for everything. No, that just doesn't work that way. Yeah. So Christopher, we did get a question in from Sean in the audience. Does the AI email protection help against OneDrive file shares with malicious attachments or credential stealing files or pages in them?
So we have a Teams protection right now that can identify any outside team, like any non-internal Teams chats that are sending malicious links or files through them. We can notice those in real time. We're not a CASB, but when it comes down to it, the majority of EDR, MDR solutions out there, they have this component where they're continuously scanning OneDrive, SharePoint, things of that nature. Sean, I'm happy to hop on a call and go through where those live, what your solution, what your stack is today, and kind of guide you in the right direction. But the short answer is, as of right now, we're not doing the file scanning on OneDrive, Teams, or collaboration app unless it's Teams in real time.
Okay, good. Okay, well, sort of, I think we kind of went through our main points. Maybe I'll just ask each of you to kind of give your hypothesis and sort of best way to connect with you, but sum up a little bit your thoughts on hygiene and on cyber protections, and then give yourself a little 30-second commercial.
Go ahead, Tish.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I would say that coming from the IT world, and everyone's looking at all of the different vulnerabilities that are out there, it to me became very clear that one of the best things you can do is be proactive, right? I think we've been talking about that ad nauseum. It's preparing, it's knowing what, be ready. But if you have a tool that allows you to log in 3 seconds, that allows you to not have to worry about passwords ever again, that is the highest level of security. It meets NIST standards, SP 800-63. It meets all the compliance regulations. It's FIDO, it's NFC enabled and Bluetooth, so it is upgradable. It can last up to 3 years or more because it's completely free upgrades on it. I think that to me really stands out as something that can be a one of the tools, out of everything that's out there that could really help to take that next step. Again, it can be compromised like anything can be. I mean, people can get into Fort Knox if they want to. They got into the Louvre, right? And they just took all those jewels. So anything can happen. But wouldn't you feel better if you could minimize those risks and not have to reset passwords and not have to go and figure out, what all that is? So to keep it simple, I would say, give me a call. My name is listed there, Tish Williams. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to just have a call and see if this might be a benefit to you and your organization.
Well, is there a special discount for the attendees today if they contact you in the next 24 hours?
Yes, absolutely. So as partners, yes, you definitely have partner pricing. Yes, we do. You put me on the spot, but yes, we do. We offer that, and then we're also offering an even better price for internal use. So if you're looking to try and use this product internally to get started to see how it works, I even have a much better price for you. And it's still extremely affordable. It's not, it's like I say, one product lasts 2 years at $175 list price. I mean, that's pretty expensive.
Okay, Christopher, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, from my perspective, hygiene it's not only technological hygiene. It's not only about hygiene within the systems. It is as much now about human hygiene and end user awareness and training, which, Tish has a lot of experience in, because in this day and age, you have to have that human in a loop in a lot of situations, right? And when it comes to email security, we're no different, and it's really what separates us from the other solutions that are out there. Is we have the largest crowdsourced threat intelligence community. We partner with 3,000 MSPs. We partner with 20,000 businesses globally, millions and millions of mailboxes that we support and secure on a daily basis, all of which feed us information in real time through a report email, report phishing button that you're all accustomed to within Microsoft. Ours functions a lot differently. It's heavily automated. It comes through, it runs through the AI. We provide all of the threat analysis and the details for you. And then based off of end users escalating and using that button, we can go and search for the same malicious incidents, the same emails throughout our ecosystem in order to protect against zero-day and real-time attacks. And so for me, cyber hygiene is not only about that consistency, but it's about consistency within the technology upkeep and maintenance that's required, but also within end users, because the types of attacks that we see today are very much different. They need to know what's out there. They need to know how to handle the situation, and they need to have an easy outlet to escalate if needed. And that escalation path also, as we know, needs to have a lot of efficiency and a lot of detail for the partners to make the right decisions, and for the IT heads within these organizations to make the best decisions for them and their customers moving forward. And so for me, personal and technology hygiene. And then when it comes down to iron scales, as I mentioned today, we can be set up in 3 minutes, not 3 seconds like Tish, but still pretty quick. And we offer complimentary, like you said, NFR for a short period of time or over if you have a specific amount of mailboxes with us. So first 90 days of your NFR are going to be free. The rest will be at a discount or remain free. And then we offer free customer trials, the free email health check on every environment that you bring in. So we can actually give you the data that you need to go and really understand where your customers are at risk or how at risk they really are, and then have the data to go and win that business. And so when it comes to Iron Scales, we are email security, account takeover protection. So we do identify impossible travel, brute force attempts to the Active Directory, forwarding rules being put in place, things of that nature. DMARC protection, or DMARC management, which is huge, especially with the rules and regulations that Microsoft and Google have put in place. If DMARC is not set up correctly, you're going to have mail deliverability issues. And so you can really do all of these things with Iron Scales. And the best thing is our partner program, as I mentioned, there's no BS, no quotas, no minimums, no long-term agreements. We'll help you out. My team is fantastic. We'll have a dedicated partner success manager, engineer. You'll of course have me here whenever you need it. And so
that's the best part, Chris.
Yeah, right. And so yeah, that's what I think too. But it's just overall, it's just continuous, right? It can be daunting, but my advice would be find the solutions that make it less daunting. Find the solutions that are secure, efficient, and can proactively go help you generate revenue.
Yeah, that's good. Good. We did have another question come in from Anthony. I think we've kind of addressed it to a certain degree, but maybe maybe there's an example. So when it comes to clients who are mature, right, they've supported them for a while, and they're pretty hard in the environment. What other initiatives are you seeing going forward to further strengthen security posture? And I guess, from my standpoint, it would be, pretty regular and continuous scanning of the environment and a pretty rigorous test on that to make sure that what you've put in place is effective and is working and doing what it's supposed to be doing. Christopher, I think it would be pretty similar. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, that's, the new things coming would be around some additional sort of posturing and gathering information from other environments and being able to identify if that's in their environment, right? Continually looking forward.
Yeah, and you said it best earlier. It's easy to protect against what we know. It's very hard to protect against what we don't know. And so through, once again, all organizations can think they run a tight ship, right? And they might, like Tish said earlier, hey, they could have the best firewall, the best security possible in place, but the second a user starts touching it, then they could be in trouble, right? There's configuration drift that happens. There's all of these different things. And so when it comes to being complacent, you can never be complacent when it comes to cyber hygiene or just security in general. And the one thing with just continuous testing, I'm sorry, did I fall off?
You phased out there for a second.
Uh-oh.
You're back. No, you're there.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I guess I'm having issues. But no, like I was saying, it's more along the lines of just, hey, to at least test out and see what's there, see what is getting missed, right? There's no harm in actually evaluating it and seeing if you need to add to your defense in-depth strategy. And so for those customers that are, wound tight, that do think that they have everything in place, it's no harm to verify. And like you said, Frank, with Iron Scales, we have the ability through the scan back. All they need to do is put us in place. We'll be able to show them what's getting missed, and then you can move forward with the right data.
Yeah. And Tish, I would assume your nice little fix-it gadget is the trend of 2026, right? I mean, people can have password protections, can have, MFA protections, but if they can't confirm that it's actually you, that will, add even further to a pretty hardened down environment.
Absolutely. And like I say, just when you look at AI, how it's growing exponentially tenfold every quarter, I mean, it's a very interesting world we're moving into with AI, right? It's changing the dynamics of everything. I mean, you can pretty much have access to more things than you could ever have imagined. But when you realize it can absolutely imitate my face, my voice, Frank, Chris, I won't know 100% it's you unless, we meet somewhere and I'm saying, hey, it's really you. So this device here, being a authenticator, that it's definitely you, biometric, I think that's probably just critical. And it kind of goes back to, when you're an MSP and you're saying, well, you know, I've hardened my environment. I know I've got everything, you know, locked up. My customer tells me they're great, but they have one employee who tries to figure out how to get their phone connected, right? And then they have downloaded things on their phone, or during their lunch break, they do some gaming and they're like, oh, I'll just do it on my computer so I can kind of listen if somebody pings me on, you know, chat or something else, right? So next thing you know, the environment and the generation that's coming up now grew up on computers. So if there's a way for them to figure out how to break into something or bypass something, they're doing it. And they're not really thinking about the compromise. They're thinking about, this is ease. I can do all this all on my one computer that my company gave me, and nobody's going to know, and, you know, connected.
Well,
So there's no passwords. There's nothing to worry about.
Secure now is not going to be secure tomorrow.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Well, I mean, just you know, look at the number of vulnerabilities published every day, every week, right? There's hundreds every day, you know, thousands per quarter
causing,
that, you know, continuously found. I mean, Microsoft's Patch Tuesday includes, you know, 30 or 40 new vulnerabilities from them every month. So they're out there. So let's wrap up. Tish and Christopher, thank you so much for your time and your insights and product knowledge. For the attendees, again, our contact information is in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to see a demo, if you want to buy product, of course, we'll take that order. But we'd really like to help you, you know, be more protective of your customers and improve their hygiene. And hopefully this has been a good pass and a good use of your time to accelerate your business. So thank you again. Frankly speaking, we'll be again in November, probably right after Thanksgiving, probably not the week of Thanksgiving. So look out for that, and we'd love to have you back. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Appreciate your time.